I'm Eric Fogarty, owner of Dodds Memorials. My father was a salesman for Dodds Monuments back in the 50s. And I remember coming to the building here in Xenia, the home office, at the age of about 6 or 7. And so I've been around it all my life. I worked with my first family as far as memorials are concerned at the age of about 19, so that's been about 52 years ago. Pre-need, to the people who aren't familiar with the term, just means planning ahead of need, doing it before time. Things like the will, the funeral, the memorial, the cemetery lot, taking care of that ahead of the time before there is a need. Is pre-planning hard to do? And the answer is no, not at all. As you pre-plan various things, and I'll focus mostly here on memorialization, of course, but I've worked with, through my parents and myself, taking care of the will. Again, very important. Take care of that first. The rest of it kind of falls into place. Funeral directors, memorialists are trained to do that. When you walk into a company like Dodds Memorials, for instance, we have a trained staff that has been with us for years. And when you walk in and you say, hey, my husband and I are here to take care of our memorial, we'd like to get this taken care of ahead of time. The thing they're probably going to say is, congratulations, well done, more people should do this. And what they're going to do is just kind of talk with you as you walk through. These are the different types of monuments. These are the different types, the different colors, the different shapes. What did you do? What are your husband's hobbies? What did you do during your lifetime? And pretty soon you're just going to have a conversation that you're not thinking much about. And after maybe a half hour or so, they're going to say, well, let's go back in the office and sit down. And they're going to sit down and maybe sketch up a little something and say, what do you think about this? And you're going to say, that's perfect. How did you come up with that? And that's what we're trained to do, is to listen and to help design a memorial based on the story that we feel you want to tell. When it comes to memorialization, that's something very few people know much about. You don't buy 2 or 3 monuments in a lifetime. So what you want to do is you want to start with a monument company that's been around a long time, like Dodds. You want to find a monument company that does their own engraving, because you don't know who's going to do the engraving if you have it at a quarry, because there's so many different types of granites. You want to just find a company you trust. Find somebody that's been here a long time. Obviously, as the owner of the company, I'm going to suggest Dodds, but more than just because I own it, because I know our people here and I know we are dedicated to do a good job. It's so important to do this. And number one, start with the will. Okay? Got to have that done. Funeral home. That can be done at any time in there, but do that soon. The other thing, it's usually pick out your cemetery and then pick out your memorial. I like to flip that. The first thing you need to do is pick out your memorial. People don't realize so many cemeteries have regulations about what you can have and what you can't have. And then if you come in and say, I just bought 2 lots at so-and-so cemetery, and we want this nice big monument that has a picture of us on it, our wedding date and roses and our kids' names, and we have an idea of what we want, and then I find out that you can't have that. So I would reverse it and say, buy the memorial first, pick that out, see what you want, then we can help you find a cemetery where you can have that. Or if you already have a cemetery and you say, my mom and dad are buried here, we have 2 plots next to them, then we'll find out what you can have, and we'll work with you to either to match what they have or get something for you. But that's probably the best way to handle that. I've been married to my wife, Becky, for 52 years. And as we look back on our lives together, we made all those important decisions together. We decided when to get married. We decided the houses that we wanted to live in. We bought our houses, when to start our family, what cars we were going to buy, when we were going on vacation and where. All of those questions and all those decisions were made by us together. And as we get a little farther into our lives, I kind of want to focus this part on the people who are about my age, maybe 5 years younger, maybe 5 years older, because we are now faced with not those kinds of decisions, but decisions that are, what are we going to do in the years to come? And the decisions that we should make there are decisions about the will, the memorial, the funeral, all of those types of things. These are very important. And the thing is, actually, I'm going to be speaking to the men a little bit here too, because unfortunately, 70% of the time, it's the man who passes first. And I want you to think about what your wife is going to go through in her time when something happens to us, and immediately after something happens to us. And what happens is she is in a terrible frame of mind as far as grief, hurt, pain. After something happens to either spouse, there is so much going on. In the first 48 hours, you probably won't get 5 or 6 hours of sleep. You're going to be having people come in, maybe your children, family, friends, neighbors, going to be coming in. How can I help? I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. And there's just so much going on, and it all happens in that first couple of days. And can you imagine during that most extreme period in your entire life, somebody tapping on your shoulder, maybe your son, your daughter, and say, hey, Mom, we've got to go to the funeral home. We've got an appointment. And then after the funeral, we've got to go over to the cemetery and pick out a cemetery lot. So can you kind of tell the people what you're going to have to leave? That's what happens when you don't pre-plan. At the worst time when we're able to make the least educated decision without all the pain and grief, we're having to do that. It'd be much better to have your daughter or son tap on the shoulder and say, hey, I've talked to the funeral home. They've got everything taken care of that you planned. They're going to call the cemetery. We've got all that taken care of. So my suggestion, and I've seen it so many times in our industry, of people saying, gosh, I wish I knew what he wanted. I wish I had an idea of what he wanted to do or what she wanted to do. And so my suggestion is, don't dump all of this junk, all these decisions on your spouse, what's going to be the most critical time of their life. If you're sitting here listening to this, look at each other and say, we need to do this now. Make that decision, because it'll be the best decision you've ever made.